Another thing I want to talk about as it relates to autopilot, it's not quite autopilot, but it's sort of halfway there. But it's a big thing that comes up again and again and again. And I've received a few questions about it from people watching the videos who emailed me. So let's just talk about it here. And that is, what is your opinion, Yoel, about hand flying the airplane? So autopilot's off. Autopilot is disconnected. So people are asking, what's your opinion, Yoel, about hand flying the airplane with the flight director? And for those of you who don't know what I mean is, this flight director, the pink little thing there, that bar moves in accordance with whatever is found in the scoreboard. So I'll give you an example. Let's say in my scoreboard I'm in heading mode. And let's also say that my heading is right now 350, what it is. But let's assume that my heading bug, again, remember I'm hand flying the airplane, so my heading bug could be in one thing and I could be in heading mode. So let's say, actually, you know what? Let me show it to you in actuality rather than talk about it. So here comes the autopilot. I'm throwing the autopilot away. So autopilot's disconnected. You see, it's not over here. I'm hand flying the airplane. Check it out. My scoreboard is in heading because there's the scoreboard gone, right? So you see there's no flight director. So now I'm pressing heading. So there's heading. Look what shows up. Flight director. Now I want you to see what the flight director does when I move the heading bug to the right. Look at this. So right now the flight director with autopilot off is representing the heading. Check it out. I'm moving the heading to the right. Look what the flight director does. I'm continuing to fly straight, but the flight director is banking to the right. Right? So the flight director basically tells the airplane what to do, or tells me where to park my yellow chevron in order for the plane to actually fly in accordance with what my heading bug is doing. And now if I turn my heading to the left, the same thing is true. The flight director will turn to the left as I continue to fly straight. And look at that. Flight director is turning left to follow the heading bug. Now let's do the same thing with flight level change. So I go into flight level change and I tell the plane to go ahead and maintain 100 knots, which is the 25 knots slower than what I am right now. Look at what the flight director will tell me to do. It will tell me, the pilot who's hand flying will say, hey, if you want to maintain 100 knots, guess what you need to do? You need to go ahead and pitch up. You see how it's going up above me there? Let's say I want to go ahead and descend. Actually, it won't. My bad, because I didn't raise the ceiling. So let's go back to flight level change. And here comes the 100 knots. And now let's see what the command bars will do. There's 100 knots. And look at what the flight director is doing. It's telling me, hey, pick the nose up to maintain 100 knots. Look at that. Now if I go to vertical speed and I tell it to descend at 500 feet a minute, look what happens. And I'll just turn here towards Trona as I do this. Look at what the flight director is telling me to do. The flight director will come all the way down. Let's go to 1,000, let's go to 1,500 feet a minute to make this pronounced. And now it's turning left to face that heading bug. But check it out. Look at what the flight director is telling me to do. In order to reach a descent to 1,500 feet a minute. It's telling me to pitch down. So the million-dollar question that I get is, Yoel, what's your opinion of hand flying the airplane with the flight director on like that, following whatever is in the scoreboard, with the autopilot disengaged? Meaning, what do you think of a pilot slapping the yellow chevron, the command bar, inside of that flight director to achieve whatever it is they want? So here's my answer to that. I am not a fan of that. And the reason I'm not a fan of that is twofold. Number one, 99% of the time when I'm hand flying a plane with someone in my life, meaning my students, The reason we're hand flying it and not autopiloting it is because that student most likely is in need of hand flying training, which is why we're specifically hand flying. What that student isn't in need of is flight director chasing training. And so that's reason number one. When we hand fly a plane, let's hand fly the plane. In fact, even better, let's turn the screen off and look outside and hand fly the plane. So that's reason number one. But here's the biggest reason why I'm not a fan of it. The reason I'm not a fan of flying the airplane and chasing that flight director while hand flying is because, yes, it works great if your situational awareness is 100% at 100. Meaning, if you selected the precise modes and you have exactly what you need in your scoreboard for the mission that you want the airplane to execute, then yes, that works perfect if you stick your command bar inside the flight director. But here's what I find so often, especially in a cloud and IFR, is that people's situational awareness is not at 100%. And here's the problem with situational awareness not being at 100%, is that you don't know it's not at 100% because you're not 100% situationally aware. It's crazy how situational awareness works. And so because of that, because to fly that, what I just demonstrated, properly, we need to be 100% on it. We need to have the exact modes going on. We need to, I don't want to be thinking, if I'm doing that, I don't want to be thinking that my flight director is telling me where to go to track my course while I'm in heading mode. And now I'm drifting off. But I see that happen way too often. So my short answer to the question of, Yoel, what's your opinion of hand flying the airplane while chasing the flight director? I'm not a fan of it. I'm not. If you want to hand fly the plane, hand fly the plane. We have enough cues. For many, many, many years, we've flown planes in clouds with no flight directors, safely. We have enough cues to confirm to us what's happening and what we need to be doing. We don't need to do that. So that's my opinion. But really, it's that situational awareness. I see way too many people think they're in heading mode and they're in nav mode, think they're in nav mode and they're in heading mode, think they're in vertical speed, they're in flight level change, think they're descending, but they're in altitude hold mode, and so the flight director isn't moving, and so they're not climbing or descending. And too often I see people not even realizing what's going on. So because of that, I hope it makes sense. That's my 2 cents. Is it dangerous to do it? Of course not. By no means am I saying it's, if you're someone who does that, hey, it's to each their own. It's just something that requires a high amount of situational awareness, especially if you're in a cloud or IMC. You don't want to be, doing what. Now the thing about having the flight director on with the autopilot is that now you're not so focused in on maintaining aircraft control, positive aircraft control, because you're not hand flying it. So you freed your brain up a little bit. Now you're able to relax a little bit, look at the operation, monitor the systems, and make sure, okay, I am indeed in heading or nav mode. But when you're hand flying the plane, chasing the flight director, you're a little bit busy, and your brain won't necessarily have that room to go ahead and figure all these things out on the fly. So for those reasons, I'm personally not a fan. But if you're someone who does it, or you're into doing it, or you want to try it sometimes, I think it's a cool thing to try and see how that works, and really see how the flight director works. It's a pretty cool system. So that's my 2 cents on that. Let's see. Let's get back to autopilot here.